A federal judge on Thursday extended a deadline for Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, to release immigrant children in its custody. Last month, U.S. District Judge Dolly G. told ICE it had until today, July 17th, to release children from its family detention centers in Texas and Pennsylvania due to concerns over rising coronavirus infections. ICE now has until July 27th to comply with the order. This comes as another federal judge is poised to rule next week on a Trump administration request to keep immigrant families jailed in, quote, family detention centers, prompting fears that immigrant children could once again be separated from their parents.
Documented children and their parents from U.S. custody amid a spike in coronavirus cases in the country's detention facilities. There are nearly 23,000 migrants being detained in U.S. custody, of which at least 2,700 have tested positive for COVID-19. So explain to us how significant this ruling is and what exactly does it entail? Because we know the children are protected under the Flores Agreement, but not necessarily their parents. So how does this complicate matters?
I think it is important to give our viewers some background about the legal issues at play here. First of all, under a 1997 court settlement known as the Flores Settlement Agreement, migrant minors in U.S. custody are afforded certain protections. There is a mandate there for the U.S. government to seek the prompt release of minors from U.S. immigration custody. This only applies, as you mentioned, to minors, not parents or adults. So now the judge overseeing the government's compliance with this order ordered ICE 2 weeks ago to promptly release minors in its custody from the 3 family detention facilities the agency operates in Texas and in Pennsylvania. Now, this is where it gets a little murky because the judge does not have the authority to order the release of the parents. She gave ICE 2 options to release the children. She can either ICE can either release the families together as one unit, or it can ask the parents whether they would allow their kids to be released without them to sponsors like family members who are already in the U.S. Advocates strongly oppose the latter option, Tanya, because they say it amounts to family separation.
I would say that any type of choice like this is inherently coercive in any type of detention situation, right? You're in detention with your children, which is a horrible place to be, and you want your kids to get out. So it's as if you have a gun to the person's head when you ask them, do you want to stay in detention indefinitely with your child, not knowing when you might get out, as you're watching your child suffer, not being able to eat the food, not being able to have normal childhood development and activities? Or do you want to maybe let your kid out without you, but you may never see them again?
So, Camilo, it seems like parents are being given an impossible choice, like whether to let their children be released from the detention center without them and to somewhat unknown circumstances, even though they are supposed to be sponsors taking the children, or I guess remain in the facility which poses a danger in other ways to their children.
And it is important to emphasize, Tanya, that ICE oversees civil immigration detention. None of these families are being held because of criminal sentences by a judge. They are being held to ensure that they show up to their court hearings and that they are ready to be deported if an immigration judge issues such an order. They are not being held in criminal custody.
After a year-long investigation, U.S. Customs and Border Protection says it's fired 4 employees and suspended dozens more without pay over their participation in a Facebook group filled with racist, homophobic, and misogynistic content. In one post, a photoshopped image depicted Congressmember Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez being sexually assaulted by President Trump. In another thread, members of the group made fun of a video of an immigrant man trying to carry a child through a raging river in a plastic bag. One group member commented, "At least it's already in a trash bag."